everybody.
Great to see you.
Yeah, I'm going to have to shut my camera off just for a few minutes because I've got to say goodbye to family who came to see me. And
Okay, sounds good.
So I'll have the sound on and I will be back real quick.
Sounds great, thanks. All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks for attending. This is the regular monthly open meeting of the Third Laguna Hills Mutual Board of Directors, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation. Today is Tuesday, November 15th, 2020. It's now 9:30 a.m. We are in the boardroom live as well as available for viewing on TV6, Zoom, and Granicus. I'd like to call today's meeting to order, and I see that we have a quorum. Thanks. We'll start today's meeting with our Pledge of Allegiance, led by Director Annie McCary. Annie?
Thank you. If everyone would please rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thanks, Annie. It's now time to approve our agenda for today. Can I get a motion to approve today's agenda? Kush moves, Chris seconds. Does anybody have any suggested changes or any other comments for today's agenda? Any issues with approving it as is? All right. We'll consider today's agenda approved by consent. Thank you. We're now looking to approve the meeting minutes for 5 different meetings. Let's address them separately. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the 3rd annual meeting that was held on October 6th?
I so move.
Annie moves, thanks. Jim seconds, thanks, Jim. Any suggested corrections to the minutes of the 3rd annual meeting from October 6th? Seeing none, we'll consider that approved by consent. May I now get a motion to approve the minutes from the 3rd organizational meeting where the board voted for its officers? It was also held on October 6th. Thanks, Ira. Ira moves, Jim seconds. Any suggested changes to those?
I will abstain. I was not present, unfortunately.
Okay, great, thanks. So Kush abstains. Anybody else have any questions, comments, issues? Okay, other than Kush's abstention, we'll consider those also approved by the rest of us by consent. And now, can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the monthly 3rd open meeting that was held on October 18th last month? Chris moves, Jim seconds, thanks. Any suggested corrections, comments? I did have one on page 8 of 16, towards the bottom with regards to the Shepherd's Crook, kind of the right above where it says President Laws directed this to go back to the M&C committee. It says upon motion duly made and seconded, the motion was called to a vote and failed by a vote of 7-0-0. I think that should be 0-7-0. But that's all. Okay. Any other comments? All right. Trying to watch Don and Jules as well. I'm seeing that they're not raising their hands unless they're eating. All right. Great. Thanks. We'll consider those approved as well. 4th meeting minutes is the agenda prep meeting from November 4th. Can I get a motion to approve those? Jim, thanks. And a second? Anyone? Kush, thank you. Yeah. Any suggested changes, corrections to those minutes? Okay. Seeing none, we'll consider them approved. And finally, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the special board meeting where we discussed committees held on November 4th? Jim moves. Ira seconds. Thank you. Any suggested corrections, changes to those? Okay. Seeing none, we'll consider those approved by consent. Thanks, everybody. We'll now move on to agenda item 5, which is the board's chair remarks. As has often been mentioned, the real work of boards gets done within committees. It is in committees that issues and actions get discussed and addressed, and where appropriate, our committees make recommendations to the full board for approval. One of this board's recent focus areas has been to assess our committees and clarify the priorities for each of them so that those priorities can be shared with the members as well as our staff. And it is then the hope that we can get some help from our knowledgeable and experienced members to become advisors for some of those committees. During agenda item 12C of today's meeting, the chairpersons of 4 of our committees will be sharing their priorities along with what knowledge and experiences they're hoping to get from committee advisors. As this board has assessed our committees, we also looked at whether or not all of the committees are needed. Each committee takes time from multiple board members, but more importantly, each committee takes valuable staff time. The time that staff spends preparing, presenting, and documenting each committee, and is time that they're not spending on more valuable activities. And so rather than have a lot of committees that take up a lot of time and focus on a lot of different actions, this board thought that it would be more effective to have fewer committees that focus on the most important actions, which can be more quickly addressed for our mutual. As a result of this assessment, the board has eliminated 4 committees and has revised the schedule of another one from meeting every month to meeting every other month. And so I feel that this board is progressing well to finalize our priorities and align staff to help us address our focus areas. If you're interested and available, please consider sharing your time and experience as we work to improve our community. So that completes my remarks for today. As always, thanks for listening and thanks for your support. We'll now move on to agenda item 6, where we'll have an update from the VMS board. VMS Board Vice President Wei Ming Tao is providing today's update. Good morning, Wei Ming.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, here is the October VMS update. On October 27th, VMS has a contract open house.
Can you get closer to your mic? I'm sorry.
Okay, is it better?
Yes.
Okay, start over. October 27th, VMS had a very successful contractor open house. It was well attended. Many people were standing. But it was a very successful meeting because of the dialogue and the communications. And in the meeting, the purpose of the meeting mainly is just giving the resident and contract about the variance process and the mutual board consent process. And also, we invited the city permit department to be present because we always heard, is the city delay or is the VMS delay? And so it was really helpful to have the city permit department at the site. And also that it was very, very well communication. People give comments, and it's really a very good communicated dialogue meeting. And we will have future open house on quality basis. So the next one will be in 2023. And also we will have workshops for real estate broker, agent, and escrow professionals. Because at the meeting we found the realtor really a lot of problem because a realtor gave the wrong, incorrect information. So people bought the house, had the wrong ideas, and they can just come here and do this, all the things they want to do because the broker told them. So it is very critical that we have a training or open house for the realtor. And my takeaway on this meeting is that it is very, very important that we communicate. And I think the biggest problem in our process is just people say information and went dead. They don't know who to call, what to expect. So we need, for VMS, need to establish pretty clear procedure, expectation, and communicate with the residents. And another one is that we need to encourage more contractors to attend the meeting. At the meeting, there was only a very few, and there was one contractor been here for 25 years. He really gave a lot of good input. Okay, that's for the open house of contractors meeting. Next one is the we had a resident communication focus groups. There were 6 focus groups held over 3 days. One group specific to multilingual residents, and one group specific to older residents. And the project scope is to identify what kind of channel most used by resident, like activities, governance, and other topics affecting resident well-being. And the effective or ineffective village communication channels, what words people look, what people watch, and method to improve our communication. Next. And the data collect using short questionnaire, group discussion, and professional outside facilitator observation. And this facilitator really helped us a lot. And the findings are as follows. We need to have better website, easily searchable, better translation tool, and proactive communication by boards about committee actions. People said information they come after the fact, so they need to know it beforehand. And master calendar for all village events and activity. That would be a huge calendar. You know how many activities we have here. And neighborhood and small community events with board member participation and more cross-cultural inclusion. Next one. Also, the next one is the Customer Service Improvement Plan, CSIP, I think. That's how you call it. It basically, the improvement plan to provide guidelines that help staff members provide consistent and positive customer experience. And there are 3 phases of excellent service. Phase 1. Phase 1 is the initial contact with the village residents. Normally it's the resident service. And this is the phase 1 is for typical situation. The frontline staff knows what to do. They are trained, with this information, this kind of program, this kind of issue. You do this, and so majority of the concern or issues are with phase 1, and the KPI result. This phase 1, majority are pretty well received and got very high score. So the next one, the problem one is the next step, is the phase 2, unique situation with the village residents. And these are the non-typical ones. And the frontline, they're busy where they have to finish so many calls and do so many things within some certain hours. So it's hard for them to handle this unique situation. So the process will be that, to train the staff to know what kind of situation you need to forward to the next level. And the phase 3 will be the internal dispute resolution with the board members. And right now we are focusing on the phase 2, the unique situation with the village residents. Next, please. So handling the phase 2, the unique situation with the village residents, the next level when the staff, frontline staff forward to the next level, there will be either senior staff or supervisor or managers. They will initiate the phone call, an email, or in-person interaction with continuous comment to assist, courteous comment, commitment to assist. And they will listen, and they will ask follow-up questions for clarification if needed. And they'll recap the matter to confirm the understanding of the situation, and they will inform residents they are the focal point, the point of contact for any matter related to their issue on this one, and they will provide their contact information, email, phone number. So, and they also will provide the deadline for follow-up. They will let them know what's next, what to expect. And the next page. And the point of contact, what they will do once they take over the case, they will investigate the situation, and they'll develop acceptable solution, and they will communicate an outcome status with resident before deadline. And they will reassure residents they have a partner. They will working with them to solve their issue. And the deadline standard will be this time next week. In other words, 7 days. Why it takes 7 days? Because these are the staff, they have regular working jobs. So they need to take time to investigate, find a solution. So we use standard seven days. And so it can be shorter or longer, but expect deadline 7 days, they will hear from them. And if they don't, the resident know who to contact and they have a partner to work with them. That's about the SCIP. Now on the employee safety, VMS has done a very good job in improving our safety with the OSHA regulation, the form application. But really, when we really want to look at a truly safety result, we need to focus on the culture, the safety culture. And that's the most difficult thing is to change the culture. You can have all the rule regulation if you fill out all the correct form, but you got to have the safety culture built in the work with the workers, and that's the focus for our safety focus. And because healthy work, it will result healthy workforce, less sick leave, increase employee productivity, and potential lower insurance rate. And the steps to strengthen the safety culture include there was a recent OSHA consultant March advisory. That one, it has been completed, and we've been taking all the action to address all the improvement. And also will update and train annually on injury and illness prevention program, and will formalize safety training calendar and publish monthly. We will expand spot check audit and coaching, formalize hazard assessment process, and provide feedback to employees. The keys for building of culture are the ones that, expand spot check audit and coaching, make sure they are doing what they're supposed to do, spot check them, and then provide them feedback. And the next one is work order satisfaction survey result. The work order success, the survey result in October about steady with all category. And in October there was 457 responses, and average rating was 4.62. And year to date through October there were 4,566 responses, and average rating was 4.59. So October was a little bit better than the year to date, but it's about steady. We'll continue to improve. Lastly is the board director training coordination. On October 18, training for new board members and refresher training for legacy board members will be held on October 18th. And the topic of training will include GRF trust, roles and responsibilities, fiduciary duty responsibility, duty of care, loyalty and confidentiality, introduction to all departments. So all department head will be coming to meet all the directors, and legislative updates. That's all the VMS updates for October, and these are the progress we call Operation Excellence that we've been doing, try to improve, take action to improve our continuous improve our operation, and we welcome all your input to help us improve.
Okay,
Thank
great,
you.
Thanks. Why don't you stay there for a second, Wei Ming?
Yes.
Anybody have any questions? Looks like Annie does.
I don't know if there's so much questions as, my thinking process. First of all, in terms of the focus group, the resident focus group, where the comment was made that the information is perceived after the fact. And we as board members and as committee members We do a lot in terms of inviting residents to the board meetings, to the committee meetings, so that this information can be shared before the fact. Having said that, the perception is that the information is getting out after the fact. And so we as board members, and maybe the coordinators of the focus group might look at this as another opportunity to see where are we missing the boat, even if we aren't missing the boat. What can we do so that residents aren't getting perceived as getting the information after the fact.
Correct.
And I also wanted to say the contractor open house was an amazing example of getting information not after the fact, but letting residents know how they can go about or what's going on with contractors in the community. So we have a good starting point with the contractors open house, but we also have a steep hill to climb in terms of getting residents interested enough to come out and get the information so that it's received before the fact. So these are challenges we as a board and committee need to really look at, and thanks to the VMS staff for reaching out and getting this kind of information from the residents.
Giovanni, you want to make a comment? I think we get a lot more detail we'll share with you how to improve that. It really is communication channels. Giovanni, you want to talk?
I was going to say, actually, the third mutual board is the most proactive of any of the corporations, so this may be least applicable to you of all the other corporations, but it's something we're striving on improving in this area and being consistent on the way we present information to the community. So some of that falls on staff as well to make sure there's a consistent way to provide that information.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions, comments for Wei-Ming? Actually, I had a few. Just one comment. You talked about the work order satisfaction survey. The ratings were 4.62 or something. Just wanted to clarify that's out of a scale of 5.
Right.
Versus 10
that's right,
or something.
yes.
The CSIP effort, is that phase 2 that you talked about, has that been implemented yet, or is it still in the process of being
It is in
defined?
working process, and we expect
We are currently training on that. We've designated those go-to people in each of the departments, and Catherine Laster is leading the training effort with Chuck Holland.
Okay.
So that is underway now, and
Okay.
so we hope to implement December 1st.
December 1st, great, thanks. And I know one of the things that I hear a lot is that people don't get back to me, staff doesn't get back to me when they say they're supposed to. There's a 7-day thing. Are we going to be able to track how often we miss getting back to them within that 7 days?
Yes, and that's obviously why Mr. Holland is involved, to help us have the tools to track that.
Okay, great, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Wei-Ming. All right. We'll now move on to our open forum. At this time, members may address the Board of Directors regarding items within the jurisdiction of this Board of Directors and not on the agenda. The board reserves the right to limit the total amount of time allotted for the open forum to 30 minutes. Each member is asked to speak no more than 3 minutes. A member may speak only once during the forum, and speakers may not give their time to other people. Members not in the boardroom can also share their comments by joining this meeting via Zoom or by emailing your comments to meeting@vmsinc.org to have your message read during this open forum should time permit. So Michaela?
We have one speaker right now, Stuart Hack.
Good morning, Mr. Hack.
Good morning. I have a very short question. The Rec Room Subcommittee looks like, from what we could discern from looking at your meeting minutes, that has not been a committee that has been terminated, and it's not going to be terminated. Is that correct?
It is not a committee that has been terminated. At this point, there's no plan to, but we're continuing as the board to assess committees, so I can't speak for this board or any future board to say that it never will.
Okay, so the purpose of my asking is that we came here prepared to address it, and it appears as though we don't need to address it. And
Okay.
that's what I wanted to confirm.
Okay, I'm happy to hear from any building captains if they want to speak. But yeah, I don't think you need to address it.
I'm sorry, you said we do or do not?
I do. I don't believe that you need to, but
Yes.
certainly
Okay,
don't
that's-
want to.
That's all. That's all we don't want to waste your time.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Hopefully we aren't wasting any of yours. Thanks. Any others?
No, that was it.
Okay. Okay. And thanks for all of the Garden Villa folks who are here. Hope you stick around and listen, see what's coming up. All right. We'll now move to agenda item 9, the CEO report. Siobhan, what do you got for us today?
Thank you, President Laws. Members of the board, this morning I would like to highlight more than $1 million in cost savings measures recently implemented, and to introduce a program to generate further cost savings ideas. The first cost savings, can I ask that we
Excuse me, unfortunately, the way the acoustics here, we can hear very, even whispering in the audience, so if you can refrain, that'd be great, thanks.
Thank you. The first cost savings item comes from our General Services Department, which manages more than 400 GRF vehicles. The General Services Department recently updated the vehicle replacement policy to formalize processes used to identify vehicles for replacement during the annual CIP process, have the ability to lease vehicles, purchase alternative fuel vehicles, and used vehicles, and require General Services to complete a fleet sizing assessment every 2 years. The recently completed fleet sizing assessment evaluated all departments to identify the number of vehicles appropriate for the number of employees in each work group, and opportunities to share vehicles across work centers, downgrade vehicles where it makes sense, for example, to go from an F-250 pickup truck to a smaller Ford Ranger pickup truck, and reduce the number of vehicles in the fleet. The recently completed assessment anticipates saving more than $600,000 over the next 4 years through $478,000 in vehicle reductions, $94,000 in changes to vehicle class, and $38,000 by pooling or sharing vehicles across work centers where a 1-to-1 ratio is not needed for employee to vehicle. The second savings involves 2023 employee health insurance. During the budget preparation process, staff was engaged with health insurance negotiations and evaluating alternative methods for providing that benefit to our employees. This included looking at captives and various other self-funded options to try to reduce our costs. At that time, the incumbent insurance provider quoted a 10% increase for 2023. Ultimately, healthcare was negotiated with a different vendor at a 4.4% reduction from the current year while enhancing employee healthcare benefits. The estimated savings for 2023 is a minimum of $500,000. Since insurance costs are determined by the number of participants and the amount of coverage selected, savings could be greater depending on staffing levels and the ability to fill our vacant positions. But again, that's a substantial savings for 2023. The next cost savings measure is associated with the replacement of the irrigation master control system. This was installed in 2001, so it's more than 20 years old, the current system. To give you an idea of the breadth of the project, the current system has a main control computer with a weather station, 31 cluster control units, 407 remote irrigation controllers, with 10,500 active irrigation zones. The system is obsolete. There is no functional remote access. A technician must be at the monitor to see and resolve issues. This is a limiting factor, especially given we water at nighttime and on weekends when staff isn't present. The new WeatherTrack system uses a cloud-based software that provides the user with remote access to manage all of the controllers, and daily weather reports are communicated to the controllers to automatically adjust run times depending on the weather forecast. The conservative estimated water savings from the new system is 74 million gallons of water annually throughout the village. Based on current water rates, The estimated expenditure savings is about $280,000 annually. I should stress that with the expected water rate increases, this expenditure savings should increase, and the savings should be more than that amount. And the final savings item I want to highlight today pertains to the administration of the employee's 401k plan. The plan was administrated by one company, with portions of the plan administered by a separate third-party administrator. Staff sought to bundle record keeping and have one person act as the sole program administrator. This action reduces the administrative costs for this program from 0.21% of the total 401k plan assets to 0.1%. This is an annual savings of $43,000 a year. And I realize that the administrative costs are paid by the employee participants in the program. However, this significant reduction by saving money for our employees is a key retention tool to help keep our employees working for our company. So we're very proud of that $43,000 savings. To further these cost-saving efforts, VMS is launching what we're calling is the Bright Ideas Pilot Program. Employees are a valuable source of ideas that may reduce costs, promote financial stability, enhance service quality and processes, offer innovation, improve safety, and reduce liability exposure. Programs like these to incentivize employees to share beneficial ideas are an industry best practice. Qualifying suggestions in the pilot program are eligible for awards ranging from honorary to $1,500 based on the impact of the suggestion. Funding for the 2023 pilot program will come from savings achieved through implementation of ideas generated by the program. The cost of the pilot program will not exceed $10,000, and program effectiveness will be monitored quarterly by the boards of directors and may be extended based on performance. So hopefully that will keep good ideas coming in, and we'll continue to be able to update you on cost savings measures as we move forward. And that concludes my update this morning.
Great. Very good update. I appreciate it. Sounds like good things are going on. Appreciate the cost savings. Any questions, comments by any members of the board for Siobhan? All right. Thanks again. Okay. We're now moving on to agenda item number 10, the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are recommended for action by committees and will be enacted by the board by a single motion. Today we have 2 recommendations from the Finance Committee and 4 recommendations from the Landscape Committee. Can I get a motion to approve today's consent calendar? I see Jim moves, Ira seconds. Too slow there, Kush? I'll look your way next time. Any issues with the consent calendar? Any objections to approving it? Okay, seeing none, we'll consider the consent calendar approved. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 11, unfinished business. This month we have no unfinished business to discuss, so we'll now move on to agenda item 12, new business. Agenda item 12A is for the board to entertain a motion to approve updates to the rules for board meetings. These updates were suggested by the Resident Policy and Compliance Committee as a result of noticing some discrepancies between the current rules for board meetings and the information in our director's handbook. Today we will be voting as to whether or not to submit these updates forward for 28-day member review and comment. I'm not sure if any, so I think that's a good summary. So Chris, can you read the resolution for us, please?
Yes, rules for board meetings. Whereas each owner member of Laguna Woods Village has an ongoing interest and right under California law to participate in the governance of their community, and whereas the Board of Directors of the 3rd Laguna Hills Mutual has an equal interest and duty under law to ensure that the management of the community's affair is carried out professionally and in adherence with the provisions of the Davis-Sterling Act. And whereas the Board of Directors wishes to promote order and regulate meeting time in an even and consistent fashion. Now, therefore, be it resolved, blank date, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby approves the attached revised rules for board meetings, and Resolve further, the resolution 03-20-80, adopted November 17, 2020, is hereby superseded and canceled. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution.
All right, thanks, Chris. Can I get a motion to approve the update of the rules before we discuss this? Jim moves.
I was waiting for you to close, but I don't.
Okay, Ira seconds. All right. Okay, and Kush thirds. All right. Are there any questions, comments from board members regarding these updates?
Just, so this is going to go on 28-day notice.
That's correct.
For our residents.
That's right.
Thank you.
Assuming it passes. Yes. Okay. All right. Do see any member comments, Kayla? All right. Okay. So now let us vote. Are we going to vote automatically through the screens, or are we raising our hands?
You guys should be able to vote through your screens, and then those on Zoom will get their votes verbally.
Okay. So right now, what we see on the screen is the same thing. Oh, you got. Sorry, I'm really not in a hurry. Okay, so.
Okay, Donna, can I get your vote? And Jules, you're approving this. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, motion passed.
All right, the motion passes. So again, as Annie mentioned, and hopefully I did as well, the intent is to now put this on 28-day review, or this is now, not the intent, this is now going on 28-day review. So this is where members have the opportunity to take a look at these changes and bring their comments to the board, either between now and the next board meeting or at the next board meeting before we make the vote to whether or not to finalize these changes. So thanks. Agenda item 12B is to approve updated committee appointments. Specifically, the board has decided that the Finance Committee does not need to meet monthly, but can meet every other month. And there are a few committee advisor updates being made. Can I get a motion to proceed with voting for these minor committee updates? Kush moves, and Jim seconds. Okay. Any questions or comments from board members regarding these minor committee assignment updates? And Michaela, any? Okay, no.
No member comments.
No member comments. Thanks. All right. So let us now vote on whether or not to approve these committee appointments.
Okay, Jules and Donna, you guys are both for it. Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So it looks like we're this passed as well. 9 yes, 0 no, 0 abstentions. Okay. Thanks, board. Appreciate that. Moving on to agenda item 12C. So this agenda item is for chairpersons of some of our committees to just share some information about their committee priorities and what they're looking for in advisors. As I mentioned earlier, I've asked the committee chairs to think about and document the priorities they have for their committees. Based upon these priorities, I've then asked them to consider the knowledge and experience they would like to see in committee advisors to help them address these priorities. We're hoping that the members of Third Mutual who have the requested knowledge and experience will volunteer to assist the various committees of this board so that we can make better informed, more cost-effective, more forward-looking decisions as we determine how best to maintain and manage our community. We'd now like to share with you the priorities that we're looking for from our advisors and for a few of our committees. Next slide, please. First, let me clarify our expectations of committee advisors. It is expected that they be prepared for the committee meetings by reviewing the agenda packages prior to the committee meetings, and then during the committee that they actively share their thoughts regarding the appropriateness and merits of the various policies and activities being discussed and considered. So essentially we want people that want to be active and share their opinions, share their thoughts, share their experiences. Committee advisors will not have a vote on the committee, but will be influencing the voting board directors based upon their knowledge. Committee advisors will also not be expected to attend any closed meetings, and as a result, the advisors won't need to be subject to THIRD's social media use policy. Next slide, please. I'll now ask Ira, the Landscape Committee Chair, to share the current priorities of the Landscape Committee, along with what he's looking for in advisors for the Landscape Committee. Ira?
Well, good morning, everybody. So could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. Basically, in an effort to reduce costs while maintaining service levels, we're asking everyone to use a landscape request form that can be found on the website under landscaping. This will make things much easier and get done in a more orderly manner, give you an SA number to track your requests, and this is important with so many people asking for so many things, not to get lost in the shuffle. You'll have a reference number. This is very important. So for moving forward with turf removal, we are asking everyone to use this landscape request form and just specify turf removal as the reason for your request, or if you have any other request, please specify what it is. If you can send in a picture with it, that would also be beneficial as to clarify what you are describing. We are currently using a first area identified by staff along with a first submitted form by residents with an emphasis on problem areas to be renovated to get the biggest bang for our buck within our budget, so we can enable more work to be done. We save more by doing things and keep rolling it back in, and are able to do more and more with the savings. We have moved forward and identified 5 landscape design companies to work with us, and we'll be using one or all of them to help plan the transition to a water-wise sustainable palette, and this will enable our community to save money by using less water, less labor, and this will help, and especially in this environment where labor is very difficult to obtain. We are also taking steps to confirm that our in-house nursery is our best cost option for plants, and this is an ongoing examination of costs. And so we're also investigating ideas for cost reduction, like not mowing after the days, lawns are irrigated to prevent damage from wet turf and the rideable mowers, not placing mulch against the buildings to prevent slab damage from moisture and to reduce termite habitat. Could you go to the next slide, please? In order to improve the beauty of the landscape, we're piloting different methods of filling in bare spots on the slopes and other areas, trying to mitigate overgrowth on sidewalks with just a different attitude towards maintenance. We're asking staff to be trained on the changing landscape practices required for the new water-wise plant palette that we're expecting, as well as the changing requirements from the Orange County Fire Authority as far as the types of plants we can use, how far away from the building we have to put them, how to prune them, and so on, to prevent any fire problems. So this is including both pruning, planting practices to achieve correct spacing and make it easier for everyone to be on the same page and hopefully beautify our community as well. We have asked landscaping to have their team create tickets for anything that they see that needs correction while they're performing their regular tasks, rather than waiting for your complaint. We hope this will alleviate the need for you to send in requests for anything eventually. Hopefully the retraining of the staff to create their own tickets will be a success. That's all I can hope for. We're currently reviewing and revising all the landscaping policies and resolutions to make sure they're up to date and relevant. And we have started with a review of the committee charter as well as the landscape manual. Next slide, please. And with regards to committee advisors, as we're trying to bring our landscape into the 21st century, we need all the help we can get from anyone that's had significant experience within landscaping. And so if you have experience in commercial landscape, whatever it happens to be, residential landscape, whatever that happens to be, even if you are a intense landscape hobbyist or have been involved in landscape design or perhaps worked in a nursery with water-wise plants, anything related to landscape, we are interested in your input and your knowledge. So if you will email me, that would be to nathaniel.ira.lewis@gmail.com. We can take a look at what you have to offer, and hopefully it'll be something that we can use in the committee and help our community move forward with regards to our landscape. Thank you.
Thanks, Ira. Next slide, please. Oh, you're there. All right. I'll now ask Jim, our chair for Architecture Control and Standards Committee. We tend to just call it ACSC, and now you know why, which mainly focuses on manor alterations, to share the current priorities of this committee along with what he's looking for in advisors. Jim?
Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? We want to revise the alteration processes to improve the ease and speed for members. This includes revising the mutual consent package to be more user-friendly. We want to develop a flow chart outlining the order and detail of steps. What this would include would be both from the HOA side and from the city side. Because with the flow chart, if this is, then this. It's not a matter of just one list of what you do, because the things don't work that way. There are certain things that you don't need permits from the city for that you need a mutual consent from the HOA for, and vice versa. Okay, along with developing that flow chart, we want to list mutual consent approvals that require city permits, just as a list in and of its own as a standalone list. We want to revise all the documents to remove permit from any of the HOA mutual consent. The HOA does not issue permits. The HOA issues mutual consents. There's been a lot of confusion with that, where people have thought they had a permit, they go ahead and do all their construction, and then when the HOA asks for the final from the city, they haven't even applied for a permit from the city, and they have to rip all the walls back out to show the city the work they've done. So we want to eliminate that from ever happening. We want to revise all the documentation, again, with work that we want to work with the city to help streamline all the aspects of alterations to lessen confusion. So many times I'm at the counter there at the city, and the person from the city is having to explain all of our process to our members, rather than them already knowing the process before they get there. We want to revise the HOA nomenclature to limit confusion again. Basically, the city does the structural. The HOA does the pretty and the common area and the exclusives common area. Those things have to be approved before the city will issue permits. On to the next slide, please. We want to revise the alterations processes to make it easier for contractors to do business within Third. We want to create and update a contractor's package that really explains situations. We'd like to change the work hours to better align when people actually work. When we have Veterans Day on a Wednesday in the middle of the week, most businesses don't close down for that day. And so a contractor that's coming to do work on your property, it doesn't make sense for certain vacation days that are not held by normal business practices to not be allowed to work. So we're trying to revise some of that. We need to clarify the levels of contractors' certificate of liability insurance because we have conflicting amounts in different spots, again, on that contractor's package that needs to be improved. We want to improve services for members and residents, including create chargeable services for small areas of asbestos removal. This can cut the cost up to 50% for what it would normally cost a resident to even put in a simple thing like a fan in the ceiling fan. We want to, the grandfathering for like needs to be broader in definition to conform with current codes and current products that are there. We want to transition the water heater replacement, that's being worked on right now, so that it's to the city and only HOA notification afterwards. That way the process will be very quickly being able to be done so that people can get their hot water back in service when their water heater goes out. We want to review and clarify policies which require some alterations to be removed at the time of the sale. Oftentimes people buy because something that is existing that they want to keep. An example would be a handrail. If the person that's moving in also has some handicap issues, they may have wanted to buy that unit simply because it had that handrail, and it doesn't make sense for us to require that alteration to be removed. We want to review the existing standards and recommend changes. Next slide. Along with those changes, we need to update it so that they're universal and so that they're time lasting, so that you need to have generic on materials because you don't want to try and be installing 60-year-old products when the new products are much more efficient and they meet code. If you have experience in these areas, we would love to help you influence the Architectural Control and Standards Committee. If you have architectural experiences, contractor experience, real estate experience, legal experience, and without even being an advisor, you can send information, you can send suggestions to my email. You can let me know what you think should be done. If you look at some of these control and standards that we have in effect, that you think there's changes that should be made to them, please email me and point them out and we'll work on them. You know, we want to get the community involved. You know, it's one thing to complain, it's another thing to actually put it in writing, give it to me so that we can actually maybe do something about it. And that concludes my little presentation. And again, I hope we're improving, and I hope you're seeing some of these improvements as we strive to be better.
Great. Thanks, Jim. Next slide, please. Ralph Ingdahl, our chair of the Maintenance and Construction Committee, will now share the current priorities of the M&C committee along with what he's looking for in advisors. Ralph?
Thank you. As Jim was talking, I was thinking he's doing all the alterations work.
Mike.
I'm sorry. As Jim was talking, I know he does all this alteration stuff, and it goes through him. But I was looking at the title here where it says M&C, that's maintenance and construction. I'm going to request a change to reconstruction. We're a 50-year-old community, and much of what we do is maintenance and reconstruction. So keep that in mind. We will also work towards reducing costs while maintaining service levels, including review of some of the M&C related policies and resolutions to make sure they're up to date. We want to ensure all M&C projects are on schedule and within cost as well. Next slide, please. Some of the general considerations are considering outsourcing projects and seeing whether that's worthwhile or not, or whether better to keep them in-house. Looking at our current flat roof material, this is mostly on the bigger buildings, but also on some of the smaller roofs, garages and so forth. we have looked at one material recently, one alternate material to what we have, and in the future, we will consider these again and a few others. We'll also look at something like the effectiveness of fumigation when we have to move people out of a building and give them a place to stay for a couple of nights. That runs up a lot of money. So if we could find some other way to treat that, we will do so. It's important to stay on top of it for at least legal, local treatments. We want to consider solar and panel installations. We have some solar now. It has been saving us some money in electricity, so we're going to be looking at some more of that. We want to eliminate water intrusion events. That is a big item. Next slide, please. I put this on both sides because it is a big item. Water intrusion is a major problem because of all of the reconstruction. There are several sources of it. One of the things we're doing is we're installing pressure regulators in some of the lower lying areas because they still have to pump pressure up to the third floor in some of these buildings. And if they're at a local level, that means they've got to push it up, and we don't want to push it up higher than we need to. It's just a matter of gravity and what we have to overcome. Vent deflectors, there's holes on the walls of some of these three-story buildings for ventilation purposes, and there have been cases where some of those get, during heavy rains, water intrudes in there, so we were looking at that. Water seepage into Garden Villa garages is a huge problem. I went to the Garden Villa meeting the other day, and when I mentioned that, I thought I stirred up a hornet's nest because everybody seems to be concerned about that. I don't know what the problem is. I know that automobiles track water in during the rains, but there are other ways that it's leaking into, and we're going to try to resolve that, or at least find a way to handle it. We want to ensure we got lighting in common areas for safety's sake. Washer and dryers have been making noises in some of these three-story buildings particularly, and it really annoys the people that have a room night or a building, their bedroom, whatever, right next to that washer dryer room. So we're looking at various things like that. We're even considering putting washers and dryers in multi-story buildings. That's been prevented in the past because not just structurally, but sound problems and drainage problems. So that's something that we'll probably be looking at. EV charging for cost-effective and fair solutions. It looks like we're being pushed that way forever, but that's a very expensive thing. We have, between our open carports and the Garden Villa buildings, which essentially have an open carport because they have parking beneath, there are over 400 places that we would have to install EV capability. So that's good, and none of them are going to be cheap. All of them would have to probably be rewired in order to satisfy the charging rates of some of these vehicles. And we're also going to look at safety-related issues. I mentioned the water seepage into the Garden Villa garages. That's a water issue. There are other issues at the Garden Villa situations that we'll want to look at from a safety standpoint. Next slide, please. This is some of the let's just say talents, abilities, interests, and experience areas that we'd like to find in our advisors on an M&C committee. It would be nice to find all this in an advisor, but I don't expect to find all of them in one advisor. But even any one of these becomes a help. So if you're interested, you can email me, rceng2@gmail.com. Give me a little bit of your background and your interest area, and we'd love to talk with you. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Rob. Good overview. Appreciate that. Next slide, please. All right, so now I'm going to actually share some current priorities for the Resident Policy and Compliance Committee, along with what I'm looking for in an advisor. Next slide, please. Thank you. The Resident Policy and Compliance Committee is responsible for reviewing the governing documents for clarity, completeness, and relevance, and for overseeing the processes used to manage discipline within Third Mutual. One of the things that this board has heard, and some board members have even experienced, is that at times our current compliance processes come across a bit harsh. One of this committee's priorities is to review our current compliance processes and make sure they are considerate and compassionate towards our members. During the past few committee meetings, we've been reviewing and discussing the existing processes, flowcharts, and notifications to better understand what prior boards have asked the compliance team to do. We're now starting to address these areas and identify those that we think can be improved to inject more kindness into our compliance processes. We've also begun reviewing some of the policies, rules, and resolutions to make sure they're clear and appropriate. For instance, at next week's Resident Policy and Compliance Committee meeting, we'll be discussing the nuisance policy, the appeal policy, as well as the care and maintenance of our patios, balconies, breezeways, and walkways policy. We're also working with staff to make sure that our operating rules document, which is intended to be a single document which lists all of our rules for Third, is up to date and maintained going forward. Right now it's a bit out of date. And we're also working with the compliance team to develop key performance indicators, which will allow the board to measure important metrics regarding how well we're doing with our compliance processes. Next slide, please. Here are the key types of background and experience I'm looking for in an advisor for this committee. Because the committee is responsible for continually reviewing the text of our policies and rules for clarity, and there's hundreds of pages of them. Having someone with documentation review and preparation experience would be helpful. Experience having lived in other HOAs and especially serving on boards of other HOAs could provide our committee with a different perspective on how other HOAs have implemented and interpreted their rules and handled member discipline. Because this committee deals with the processes of disciplining members who violate mutual rules, I believe some judicial experience could be helpful. Someone with policing experience could help by providing an enforcement of regulations perspective. And someone with experience in the resort or hospitality industry to provide a wonderful customer experience perspective could also be useful. So if you're interested in this committee and becoming an advisor, even if you don't have one of these specific knowledge areas and experience areas, let me know. Hopefully you all know my email address, but if you don't, it's there at the bottom of the slide, thirdmutual@lagunawoodsvillage.com. That's all that we have to share with you today regarding our committee priorities and advisors. I hope that you as members found this informative, even if you're not currently interested in becoming an advisor. Before we move on to agenda item 13, are there any further comments from members of the board regarding what we just talked about? All right. Ira, yes?
I would just like to reiterate what Jim and Ralph have said. Even if you have a suggestion and don't want to be on the committee, please send in your suggestion. We're very open to new ideas, new methods of doing things, new materials, whatever it happens to be. If you have a suggestion, don't hesitate to send it in. That's all I have to say.
Great, thanks, Ed. All right. And any others? All right. And Kayla, we have any member comments on this? None? All right. Great. So we'll now move on to agenda item 13, where we'll be sharing our monthly Third Mutual Committee reports, starting with the report of the Finance Committee. Donna, looks like you're ready.
Well, I am ready. It's a good report, so I'm always ready to give positive reports. I did want to start with my own comments as the chair before we go to those slides, so you can leave them on the screen. But before we do that, I wanted to share with you, when we're working on the budget, And people always say, how do you manage or what do you do to try and keep the expenses down? And we've reiterated a couple of times that one is, of course, to cut expenses, but sometimes that's at the cost of preserving the community as we like it. Another is to look at innovative ways to save money by doing things differently than we've always done. The third way, and that's the one I wanted to highlight today very quickly, the third way is sometimes we need to spend money in order to ultimately save money. And I know that last month at the meeting, you heard a more technical report on the solar panel project on the multi-story buildings that we really hadn't heard about for a long time. And that was a technical side. It talked about how much power is generated, et cetera. This right now is the financial side of it and why, and spending money to save money can really help the community. And so I just wanted to share very quickly with you, to install those solar panels on the buildings that were done, the initial cost to Third Mutual was approximately $2.5 million. That was in the 2017-2018 timeframe. At the time, it was projected that it would pay for itself within 10 years. At year 10, we'd be back to zero. That doesn't mean we're spending any money during that time. We paid for the project. The $2.5 million was spent. And so every year that it generated power, the anticipation was it would have generated enough power by year 10 to have brought the initial cost to zero, and everything moving forward would be in our favor and would be at profit, if you will. When that project went into place, the estimate was slightly off in terms of how much revenue we would receive from the electricity generated, because SoCal Edison was charging us very large fees for all kinds of aspects. And the state of California finally said, the power companies just can't do that here. And so that has changed. So our payback, instead of being at year 10, became year 11. So all I want to share with you at this point is that we're looking at year 11 to say at that point, and this is including every penny spent on maintenance, we anticipate that in year 10, several components will need to be replaced. That cost has also been figured in. And by year 11, we anticipate that we will have recouped that $2.5 million. The next set of, we have yearly things which are kind of boring to go through a long list, but I just wanted to share with you that the list in lifetime functionality of these panels goes up to year 25. So really 14 years after reaching the payback level. And if things continue, and the anticipation is it might actually be better financially than we thought, because costs of, as we know, if you looked at your electric bill lately, costs of energy are going up, but it is looking like at year 25, this will have generated through power generation, almost $6.5 million for us, for our community, and to help offset other expenses. So I really wanted to share that financial side of it with you because it's exciting and we're helping the environment at the same time. And so it was sort of a win-win. And with that, now we're ready for these slides. The first slide is just that general income statement that we always have, which it's just very broad. It's what came in through assessments, what came in through revenue sources other than assessments, which led to a total revenue of approximately $32.5 million. That was against total expenses of $28,500,000, again, rounding it off, for a net revenue of a little over $4 million. And that's just a very general overall statement. What's important, it's important, but we have to look at the details to really know what it means. So if we can move to the next slide, that shows our operating income statement. That's the money that is set aside, that budget that we work so hard on through the year, and that you keep hearing reports of how we're doing in terms of anticipating and setting the budget for the next year. That's the operating income. That statement and the whole operating budget. And operating is the money we have for what we anticipate being our expenses, our income, whatever. So looking at the revenue first, you can see that in assessments, we actually receive about $21.5 million. And the non-assessment revenue, obviously much smaller, but again, about $1.5 million for a total revenue of just under $23 million. The total expense was fairly close, but it was under. We are positive. It is favorable to us at $650,000. So it's good. It's looking good. We're staying pretty close to budget, but on the side that we like to be, which is the positive side. And so if we move on to slide number 3, we're going to look at our income statement, see, what happens with this. The first column, that actual column, is exactly what we had before. General, we're not in the operating fund, we're in the whole broad area. This first column is exactly what you saw in the first slide, but now we're comparing it to budget. How close were we to the amounts that were budgeted? And you can see, if you look all the way over to the far right, we were over budget. In our assessment revenue, we received a little bit less, but it was $1,000. And in non-assessment revenue, $4,000 for a total of $5,000 less than we had budgeted. Pretty close and pretty good, especially in times where we're having such issues with getting employees and getting supplies and getting pieces. So very, very close. Our total expense against our net revenue was almost flat and even. And so we'll continue on to the next slide. Okay. This, I always like to see lots of green. This is not because the holidays are coming. This is because everything on the right-hand side means it is favorable, and that item in red on the left, going in the left direction, was unfavorable. So I always like to see lots and lots of green. We start with outside services. Outside services was $2,186 favorable to us. It's not really for the best of reasons. We'd like to be favorable for different reasons. It's favorable because there were delays in invoice processing for things like moisture intrusion, which you heard about earlier, copper pipe remediation, asphalt overlay, and asphalt seal coat program. And those expected programs are expected to be moisture intrusion, slightly over budget, but copper pipe, asphalt overlay, and even our new PVC cool roof program, which you heard a little bit about earlier, has completed and expected to be on budget. So we expect to be fairly close to budget by the end of the year. Work started late, invoices came in late, but we expect by the end to be very, very close. In terms of employee compensation, that's another one that we love to see green, but not for the reasons we have it. We are still very short of staff. We need employees in many areas, particularly in landscape and maintenance and construction. And so we're still working on that. Those open positions, we are hoping very much to be able to fill soon. And by the way, just so you're wondering, working hard, working with recruitment companies, working with everything we can, but it's just a strange market right now. And our salaries at those entry-level positions aren't always able to be competitive with other places that can lure those workers. So we're working on it, and hopefully, one of these days we'll be able to give you a report that says we filled all the positions. Coming down, insurance. Insurance, which is, the fact that it's green, which is great, is wonderful. It doesn't mean insurance is no longer expensive. It was $676,000 favorable to budget because we anticipated that the actual premium would be worse. But in fact, the premium is still, we renewed our property and earthquake insurance for $7.85 million. We pay it at June 1st, and so we don't have to pay that part of it again until June 1st of next year. But again, it's favorable to budget, but unfortunately, it is still very, very expensive. Legal fees were indeed favorable as well, more efficient use of time and fewer issues requiring attorney time led to $218,000 better than budget. Utilities was the one area that didn't look good. That was $446,000 unfavorable. Primarily, it was in electricity and water. Electricity was very interesting. The reason, and actually it was a big piece of this, the SoCal Edison was working on a system change. And we weren't told of that. And we didn't receive bills that were appropriate until bills from 2021. We didn't receive that were appropriate until 2022. So we wound up unfavorable in large part because we were paying expenses incurred in 2021, but not knowing about them because we weren't billed paying in 2022. So hopefully that will be better. The water side of it, was primarily on landscape. We have the drought. We were, doing our best. We have even been able to cut water, and thanks to Mother Nature and her generosity, the last few days, things are looking good again. But that was the water was primarily landscape water. When the Water Conservation Committee reports, you'll hear the residential side, which just is a hint ahead of time. Very, very good. So moving on. This is I always like the pie charts. It kind of gives you a good picture of where things are. And so this is looking just at our non-assessment revenue. And as you can see, the largest piece of that pie is almost 30% comes from chargeable services. Next, followed closely, but not right on top of it, by permit fees, lease processing fees, laundry revenue, resale. It just gives you a nice sense of where our non-assessment revenue comes from. And so just take a look at it. You've got it available to you online through the packets. And so we like to just show it to you in that way. And if you can move on to the next one, this pie chart does the same thing for our expenses. Not surprisingly, at the very bottom, employee compensation and related expenses. That means benefits and costs related to maintaining our employees. And so that's over a third of our total expenses. And second, as I said before, while our insurance premium was less than anticipated, it is still 21% of our budget. Utilities, not far behind. Moving to outside services, about 16% of our total expense. Sometimes, though, because some of those outside services were to help us out during the open position time, that may change a little bit. That in some cases actually helped us because we got some work done. And then a very, very small, the allocation of the mutuals for material supplies and whatnot. But again, biggest thing, employee compensation and insurance together combined for over 50% of our total expenses. So let's move on. And we talked about the operating fund earlier. This is the non-operating fund, and we have several of them. We have the replacement funds. This community is, as you heard earlier, it's 60 years old, and we have things that are constantly being replaced, but we can't always anticipate what's going to be replaced. So that fund is sitting there to cover those things that might occur. Garden Villa fund is, and they actually, for elevator and laundry, they actually pay a little bit extra each month for those, and their rec room for those services. But again, very small in comparison to the others. It was $104,000 at the beginning of the year. It's $96,000 at the end of this year, and we are working to bring it up because there were quite a few expenditures. And so that's something that is kind of holding in a range. You'll see on the next slide where it shows bar chart. Don't go there. See that in the bar chart, kind of how that has gone over the last 5 years. Disaster fund. The disaster fund went down a bit. Last year we were permitted to, but also it's permitted because there was a disaster when we had that huge insurance bill. And so that is being paid back, and we are building that back up again. So it began the year at about $5,442, and it ended the year a little over $6,000. So let's move on. No, it was move on. Sorry, my apologies. It was move on to the next column. So we're not quite ready. Just one less. Yes, and that column that we hadn't gotten to yet was unappropriated expenditures. That's a very large way of saying contingency fund. These are the expenditures that we can't anticipate, but we always have to have standby money. And that fund, as you can see, holds very steadily. It began the year at 3.8 and it ended the year at 3.8, just right almost on target. And you see it all summarized at the end. So now let's go on to the slide that actually has the bar chart of these very same counts. And this is just to show you over the years, from 2018 all the way through 2022, the amount and the stability of each of those funds. And I always have to point out that at the very top of the bar, above the blue, you see kind of a mustardy green line. It's very thin. That's the Garden Villa Rec Room Fund. And then the blue one being unappropriate expenditures, the disaster in yellow, and replacement funds in orange. And it's very important that that be healthy, that it be growing, because as our facilities age, we need to be prepared to be able to take care of them. So move on to the very last slide, which is not part of the main financial report. We just concluded all of that. This is just what we always do include at the end of the month. And that is year to date. And the year to date, please note the date was September 30th, even though we are into November, because November 1st was the day of the finance committee meeting. It looks like we're behind, so you'll see it next month. And so this figure, it's helpful, but not very. It shows you prices are going up. We show 2020, 21, and 22. The problem is we sometimes obviously have to include in that when a very large ticket item, when a much more expensive. We have houses going in some cases for $1.5 million. So that 523 in 2022, 523,000 as an average resale price is good. Our prices are going up, kind of overall, but just know that sometimes that is skewed a bit by a few much more expensive buildings and units. But with that concludes the finance report, and thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Yeah. Good report, appreciate it. And next we'll have the Architectural Controls and Standards Committee. Jim?
Okay. And in the other report, it was an overview of what we hope to accomplish. This is actually what we've got in the works and are accomplishing. We met on October 24th, 2022. We welcomed a new advisor, Lisa Mills, to the committee. Her expertise is in real estate. We also had a report of the fact that Robbie Doncost has vacated the position of manager, and Gavin Fogg is filling in as the interim manager. So anybody who has projects in the works, be advised that Robbie Doncost is no longer here. You'll need to be contacting Gavin Fogg for the things that Robbie Doncost was handling for you. We also have pending issues. Some of these are a repeat of what we hope to accomplish, is the holiday work hours, Saturday work hours, insurance requirements for contractors, water heater replacement policy. We have already streamlined. We do have over-the-counter variances for variances that have been approved by the committee and are same or similar or almost exactly the same, can be done by staff over the counter, which streamlines the situation. We already have streamlined the situation by having the committee be able to approve variances. Four variances were approved by the committee this last meeting. The only time you have to go to the full board is if the committee denies the variance. You can appeal to the full board. So that step has really increased the timeline to be able to do things in a more efficient manner. We have items that are ready for the future agenda. Again, the other under 32 square feet and under 100 square feet asbestos abatement as a chargeable service, revised resale inspection fee schedule, revised standards relating to skylights, holiday work hour policy, Saturday work schedule, insurance requirements for contractors. Those are all on the agenda to be looked at and reviewed. Just want to thank the people that are part of the staff. Bart Mejia, Maintenance and Construction Assistant Director, Gavin Fogg, Manor Alteration Supervisor, and now the Interim Manager, Abraham Ballesteros, Inspector 2, Manor Alterations, and Sandra Spencer, the Administrative Assistant, and then overall, Carlos Rojas. And just keep in mind these names, these are the people you're going to be dealing with. And again, the limited staff that we have has to keep taking over when somebody leaves and spread the work among them. So they're doing a really fantastic job. It may not seem that way from some of the people's perspectives, but we can only work with what we have. So keep that in mind. Our next meeting is going to be on November 28th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. And that's the Monday after the Thanksgiving weekend. So we hope to see a few people there. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Next, we'll hear about the Landscape Committee. Ira?
Our last landscape meeting was Thursday, November 3rd, here in the boardroom. And basically, we discussed how our water conservation efforts have paid dividends. This is the monies that we've saved by cutting back on water, and it looks like there were 49 residents over in Gate 11 that said they were still too wet. So it looks like we'll be able to save more, and especially potable water, by reducing the landscape irrigation over there, which is good news. The savings is being moved from our water account into another account, so it'll be usable for landscape design and renovation for the landscape itself, which will give us a little bit of a head start for next year. And Kurt from our head of our landscape department talked about the installation that is beginning or has begun. 36 controllers out of the 507 or 407 have been delivered, and they're being installed. The staff is being trained. This, again, should save us a little money, should save us staff labor, and when they're all done, which is probably take a year. And then this will be able to be put back into our system to change our plant palette, which will hopefully save us more money and more labor time. We did have a tree donation by a past resident, and that was discussed as well, 2 new trees. And we're going to be continuing, as I mentioned before, with looking at all our policies, our committee charter, to make sure they're up to date and to be the best for everyone in the community. And that's about it. Thank you.
Next meeting, just...
Yeah, our next meeting, I believe, is Thursday, December 1st at 9:30 here in the boardroom. Thank you.
Okay, great, thanks. Thanks, Ira. And then we'll now hear about what's going on within the 3rd Maintenance and Construction Committee. Ralph?
Okay, the last meeting of the 3rd M&C meeting was on November 7th. We discussed various elements of our annual maintenance programs, and in particular the process for establishing priority of those programs based upon need and life expectancy. This included split rail fencing, gutters, mailboxes, flooring and countertops in some of the washroom areas, water heater and heat pumps in JV buildings, Garden Villa buildings, and other things. Staff further explained details of the increased paint and prior to paint cycle for our building exteriors from 10 to 15 years. Thank you to the guarantees of the warranties of the paint producers. Staff also updated us on the status of the French drain design inside Gate 11 to take care of that excess surface water that seems to flood everybody's backyard there. The engineering field survey is completed and further research is underway on the infrastructure for that system. And construction is scheduled to begin hopefully next spring. Also had a discussion regarding the efficacy of the Shepherd's Crook fencing project around our perimeter in the area that's available or the responsibility of 3rd. We asked the staff to evaluate less expensive alternatives that would still meet the city requirements. We plan to reevaluate the project over this next year, but for the meantime, we'll continue it this next year. Our next M&C committee meeting was scheduled for January 2nd, but that's a holiday, so don't show up here for then. We have to reschedule. Listen for the reschedule. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Rob. Thanks, Rob. Regarding the Garden Villa Rec Room Subcommittee, this committee or subcommittee last met on November 3rd. At this meeting, staff shared a status of the 2022 rec room projects, all of which have been completed. We also discussed what needs to be done before we next meet and confirmed that staff will be inspecting all of the rec rooms over the next month or so and creating a suggested plan for which rec room improvement projects should be executed in 2023. The committee is planning to next meet in the February 2023 timeframe, where we will review the proposed plan, adjust it as appropriate, and finalize the rec room plan for 2023. Next, we'll hear about the Water Conservation Committee. Donna?
Yes. The Water Conservation Committee, it held its quarterly meeting. We do only meet 4 times a year. Held its quarterly meeting on October 27th. And I want to share with everyone, we now meet in the Elm Room, and that room is set up in a U shape so that it invites any of our members who decide to, members of the community as opposed to members of the committee, want to attend, to join at the table and be part of the discussion. And we've been very pleased to see people there and invite any members listening now to come as well. One of the exciting things that happened at that meeting was sharing what's happening with residential water savings. And our focus, while Landscape Committee focuses on landscape water, ours is on residential water, and that's the water that has to be imported. We have no source for it here. We have no source in this part of Orange County. It must be brought hundreds of miles and very expensive. So not only is water precious and scarce, and we know we have a shortage, but it's also extremely expensive to transport that water, residential water. So we have had in the past year, in 12 months, from end of July to a year later, 19% savings in residential water. That is huge. And it's thanks to efforts both of our M&C people, our people who come out and help repair leaks when residents report them. So please continue doing that, and to our water saving efforts. And so I'm very pleased to share with you, because it's nice to hear 19%, but what does that mean in terms of water? It translates to approximately almost 11 million gallons of water. And that's just, it's huge. That's a waterfall. So please keep up the good work. And to help you keep up with that, it stimulates you and incentivize you to keep up with that work. We can't keep repeating the same suggestions for water savings in the same way. So we are working with some groups and also planning something in the future with TV6. And we're kind of thinking in terms of, not only are we going to have the general manager of El Toro Water District join us on a panel, but we're also thinking about putting together a day in the life of a water conserver so that we actually can see some of the innovative ways. So please, everybody, send in your suggestions. We would love to hear them. And we've had from community folks who have sent in ideas, a suggestion for a possible slogan for us moving forward. And it sounds really good, because what they said was, the water you save today is the water you'll need tomorrow. So we're going to kind of move in that direction. The next meeting, as we continue on that path, is January 26th, 2 o'clock, and again, in the Elm Room with that great table with room for lots of our members to join us. So thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Great job, everybody, in conserving water. We all appreciate it.
Oh, and I forgot to, speaking of, I do want to refer you all to the November 2nd email letter from Mark, from our president, and on his Wednesday letter, where he talked about something that the El Toro Water District has asked us to please comment on. And if you missed that letter, please go back and read it again. It's regarding those supposedly flushable personal hygiene wipes. They are not flushable. They are the primary reason that they're having problems with clogging sewer systems and trying to recycle water, and these wipes are in there. So please read Mark's letter. It was outstanding. It brought home a whole lot of details. And although it's not more of a report, I please want to direct you to that. And thank you, Mark, for doing it, because that was a hard piece to put together. So now I'm done.
Okay, thanks. Thanks. All right, and finally, we have the Resident Policy and Compliance Committee. This committee last met on Tuesday, October 25th, where we finalized the proposed updates to the rules and for board meetings that we talked about earlier today. We also discussed the compliance flowchart and disciplinary violations matrix with the compliance team, where we asked questions to better understand the current processes and discuss potential changes. This committee will next meet 1 week from today on Tuesday, November 22nd at 9:30 a.m. here in the boardroom. We plan to discuss a proposed members' Bill of Rights, as well as discuss clarifying Third's current nuisance and appeals policies. So please join us. And now we're going to move on to agenda item 15. Excuse me, it's not 15, it's actually 14, where we will share our monthly GRF committee reports, starting with a report of the Community Activities Committee. Annie?
Thank you, President Marks. The Community Activities Committee is one of the most active committees that I've ever served on. It's a very spirited committee where residents from any of the amenities come to hear what's going on with the committees and also to express their concerns. And so the committee met this November 10th here in the boardroom, and the new director, interim director, Allison, how do you say her name?
Chiglio?
Yeah, that. Gave a very comprehensive report about a lot of stuff that was going on in the committee. So she first touched a little bit on the activities in the garden center, where she reported that the garden center operation rules were adopted by GF, and the next step is to identify compliance priorities and begin a more thorough inventory to build a more accurate database. She's also reported that we are planning on, we're also in the planning stages for tree trimming at both centers, and we'll be communicating with gardeners about upcoming work when scheduled. There are over 20 garden center volunteers who provide temporary support for gardeners with challenges, and they also help keep the center's common areas tidy. In terms of Clubhouse 1, it's very busy, opened every day from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. with 13 to 15 reservations per day. And in the drop-in lounge, they're serving 2,500 to 3,000 cups of coffee a month. So if you're in need of coffee, go to Clubhouse 1 during the coffee hour. In terms of the PAC, billiards has expanded to Monday and Wednesday nights from 6 p.m. to accommodate men's and women's club nights. Clubhouse 4, the activities for the month, the Bonanza annual arts and crafts show was held on November 5th, and there were it was estimated that 1,320 people attended on Saturday, and estimate 760 people on Sunday. Moving down to Clubhouse 5, lobby furniture has been replaced. There was also very exciting news about the tickets for the Thanksgiving dinner. They went on sale and they sold out in 5 days. So the dinner is held in 2 locations. Clubhouse 5, 210 tickets were sold. 203 of those were adults and 7 were children. And in Clubhouse 2, 139 tickets were sold, 136 with adults and 3 children. Pool covers have been added to help maintain temperature in the cold months. The pool techs is out on leave and are working with the contractors to provide maintenance and chemical checks. The Equestrian Center, 2 new lesson horses. One has been leased and another is purchased. She gave a report on the October Hoedown event where over 350 attendees, and it was a very successful event. She gave a brief update in terms of staffing. They've hired 3 full-time rec coordinators at Clubhouse 2. 3 new part-time rec leaders have been interviewed and sent job offers. 4 more interviews for part-time rec leaders are scheduled for the upcoming week. There were several requests from different clubs. One request was from the baby boomers, and they requested the use of the mobile stage for the Woodstock coming up next year. The committee did listen to their information, but decided because of insurance and legal purposes, they could not approve that request. They would continue to look at it and run it past the legal team. The Aquadats submitted a request for a fixed dollar amount for their 2023 event. The committee did listen, reviewed their request. They did not grant the request for a fixed amount. They did talk about a fee schedule, and the committee approved the fee schedule, which will now go to finance and to the GRF board for further consideration. Some of the upcoming events, November 21st is a movie at the PAC Center, and it's called Spencer, and it's at 2 p.m. As I mentioned, the Thanksgiving buffet at Clubhouse 5 and 2 are all sold out. There is a volunteer luncheon at Clubhouse 5 on December 2nd. December 3rd, there is a village tree lighting at Clubhouse 1, and the time is to be announced. There will be a Christmas buffet at Clubhouse 5 on December 25th at 1 p.m. There is a New Year's Eve concert at the Performing Arts Center. It begins at 7:30 p.m. on December 31st. And there's also a New Year's Eve event going on at Clubhouse 5 from 7:30, starting at 7:30 p.m. And those are the events coming up for the rest of this year. The next CAC committee meeting is going to be December 8th here in the boardroom.
Great, thank you. What's new with Media and Communications?
The Media and Communications Committee will not meet until November 21st.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we should have moved them down the list then. So, and you have some updates regarding the website ad hoc committee?
The website ad hoc committee did not meet. The next meeting is to be announced. The committee were given an update from Elise, and basically on Tuesday, October 25th, the purchasing division sent the RFP for the comprehensive website design project to 6 potential vendors who responded to initial solicitation. And those groups, let's see, I don't have those names. Other significant updates, there will be a virtual pre-bid meeting on Monday, November 14th. There is a deadline for the RFIs to be completed, and that's November 28th, and the bids are due Monday, December 12th. And so those are basically the updates. The next committee meeting is to be determined.
Okay. How about security and community access?
Okay. The Security and Community Access meeting last met October 31st. We met here in the boardroom. It was a hybrid meeting. Chief Nunes gave a report. Briefly, he touched on the Disaster Preparedness Task Force, where he reported there has been one person hired to fill the emergency management part-time position. We're looking at reshaping the disaster preparedness, the whole process, taking baby steps to improve the process rather than delving in and trying to make things work that haven't worked. We're taking a back look and looking at the process from start to finish. The new staff person is also going to be monitoring the monthly radio drills, making sure that communication lines are working and working properly. The new disaster preparedness leader will also be looking at meeting with the clubhouse coordinators, going through all of the disaster preparedness lockers in the different clubhouses, making sure that they're stocked properly, making sure that the combinations on the locks are consistent, making sure that there's access. And also, Chief Nunes has a plan to meet with the city manager to discuss a CERT program, which will work with the Good Neighbor Captain program. And if you're not familiar what CERT is, it's a community emergency response team. And so we'd like to modify that so that it will work for our Good Neighbor captains and for people in the community. He gave an update on the RV lots. Lot A has 339 spaces, of which 309 are occupied. Lot B has 78 spaces and 60 are occupied. There is a wait list of approximately 132 names, but what they're doing right now is conducting an audit to make sure that those numbers are accurate. There was a staff report submitted recommending hiring a traffic engineer consultant to determine the necessity of adding stop signs and crosswalks on the area of Avenida Sevilla and Via Mendoza at the cost of $7,469. The committee discussed it. The majority of the committee voted not to approve the recommendation, so that item is no longer on the table for discussion. There were some member comments. One had to do, one member was concerned and thought that there should be some extra security during the holiday season, especially on patrol. He didn't give any specifics, but thought it would be a good idea to have that extra security. Another member suggested that some gate arms be installed at the entrance into Gate 12, and they suggested that one arm allow for visitors and another one for residents. The committee agreed to look at it, but in the discussion, they thought it might be a little bit cost prohibitive at this moment to look at something like that. But the committee will look at it and bring it back to the next committee meeting. Another member complained of seeing grocery store shopping carts throughout the community, and they thought that the gate ambassadors should be a little bit more vigilant in observing when people come in with those shopping carts and making sure that they have some words of deterrent for them. So Chief Nunes took those suggestions, and we'll have some more conversation, and there will be some more additional security patrol observing for those. That is the end of that report. The next committee meeting will be February 27th, 2023 here in the boardroom. Thank you.
All right, great. And finally, I think you're going to finish up with GRF updates with Compliance Ad Hoc Committee.
Oh, yes, we did that as Compliance Ad Hoc Committee. We had our first meeting on October 19th. And it consisted of representatives from GRF, from Third, and from United. And the purpose was basically to look at the disciplinary process. There was some discussion about, we reviewed the policy and the resolutions pertaining to the disciplinary process. There was some discussion about GRF having its own extra hearing, but no movement. No decisions have been decided on that yet. GRF did request that they get a copy, that Compliance send them a copy of the report, the one that Third gets about all of the violations that have to do with suspension of GRF facilities. So Compliance is going to forward a report to the GRF on those numbers, and a decision will be made from there. The next meeting, I believe it is to be announced. Yeah, the next meeting is to be announced.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. It's a lot of stuff there, so thanks. Now Donna will share some updates regarding the GRF Finance Committee. Donna?
And actually, it'll be very brief. They did meet on October 19th, and their finance report is overall in many ways similar to ours. They're ahead of budget. They have shorter staff, and so it's very, very, very similar except for the numbers. And they're hoping that they will be able to get closer to budget and not have a lot of surplus by the end of the year, because some of that, like us, some of that budget surplus, if you will, is related to late start projects. So there's lots of work going on to catch up. We will really not know until the end of the year how close that goal came to being met. And the next meeting will be announced.
Okay, great, thanks. Ralph, what's happening with the GRF Maintenance and Construction Committee?
Well, let's see, the last meeting was held October 12th, and I think most of that was covered in the last meeting. However, I want to mention a couple of things. Building E, which everybody agrees has to go, the procedure hit a little hiccup in the procedure, so that hasn't been stopped, it's just been delayed a little bit. EV charging is also continuing of about 7 sites originally proposed by the community to SCE, only 3 of them. Clubhouse 3, 4, and 5 were approved, meeting the SCE requirements. There was talk of having a community-wide open discussion on EV charging. I haven't heard any more about that, but there was talk about having such a meeting. By the way, do you realize that about 95% of the EVs are still on the road? I guess about 5% of them had enough charge to get all the way home. The other 95% are probably going to have to go to the service station and get a bucket of electricity or something in order to make it. Okay, enough of that. The next GRF meeting officially is scheduled for December 14th here in the boardroom as well as virtually.
Okay. Do you have any updates regarding let me get to it, clubhouse facilities renovation, or is that?
I do.
Okay. Oh, great.
Though they haven't met formally since November 15th. No, earlier than that. June, I think it was. It's June 24th. There are, however, been a couple of informal, shall we say, just discussions on what's going on. I think you recall that we did have a contract to 27 Diamonds for design, for prettiness of the place. They brought a proposal in for ideas, and it was discussed about 2 weeks ago informally by most of the members on the committee. And I made some changes, little alterations, but it was mostly to do with coloring, kind of flooring, materials for chairs, a lot of that fine stuff. So that is continuing. 27 Diamonds is quite active. They're really moving on this, pushing us along, in fact.
Okay, great.
So that's all we have. Next meeting will be to be determined.
Okay, great, thanks. Now, hopefully, we'll have an update regarding Laguna Woods Village traffic hearings.
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Well, I know you're all waiting with bated breath for the first post-Frankel report, so here it is. We met in the Cypress Room on October 19th and heard just a single case, an expired vehicle registration. We found the culprit guilty, but cut the fine in half. But we also conducted a bit of business. We agreed to require panelists to be present at the hearings. That is, no more attendance via Zoom. The thinking is that if a member gets up before dawn to attend one of our hearings, common courtesy, actually respect, demands that we as judges do the same. We also decided to require...
You muted.
You hit your mute button somehow.
And near it.
There you go.
Okay. In any event, we also decided to require that all our potential convicts arrive at the same time, 9:15. The old procedure spaced out the hearings, every 15 or 20 minutes, and so many people didn't show up that we were simply left twiddling our thumbs. The new procedure follows normal court procedures in which you set up a session, you schedule it, people show up, they have a list of priorities, and you take it from there. We also decided to rotate the chair amongst the 4 boards, GRF, the Towers, Third, and United, thus finally abandoning the Ray Grow single chair practice of yore. Not surprisingly, we concluded our business in record time. For all those eager to witness the excitement of traffic court proceedings, the next traffic court hearing will be tomorrow in the Cypress Room at 9 a.m. Get there early, and that concludes my remarks.
Great. Thank you, Jules. All right. I didn't realize, you made it sound like those traffic hearings are open to people to join versus closed just to the people being, discussing their violations?
Only board members.
Got it. Okay, thank you. All right, thanks for that.
Thanks for asking.
Thanks for the clarification. All right. Next, we have the Information Technology Advisory Committee. This committee, known as ITAC, currently meets monthly and last met on Friday, October 28th. The development team, consisting of consultants and VMS staff, has finished its analysis phase where it clarified the requirements from staff, reviewed the default functionality of the package application that we've chosen, and identified where the application needs to be changed in order to meet staff's requirements. The consultants have now created a demo environment and have begun loading VMS data onto that environment. The next steps are to hold what we call iterative sessions called conference room pilots, or CRPs, where staff sits down with the consultants, the staff exercises the functionality and identifies where it's not quite right, and the consultants then tweak it, and then a day or two later the staff kind of goes through this again. So it's kind of an iterative development, it's called, and that's going to start soon and should take several months. And the ITAC committee will next meet on Friday, December 9th to review the project. While we tend to meet monthly, the next scheduled meeting date was the day after Thanksgiving, followed by sometime around Christmas. So we're just going to meet in the middle of December and then probably sometime in early January. So they'll meet to confirm that everything's okay. And finally, the following GRF committees have not met since the last third board meeting on October 18th. The GRF Landscape Committee last met September 14th and is scheduled to next meet on December 14th at 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. The GRF Strategic Planning Committee last met on October 3rd and is scheduled to next meet on December 5th at 9:30 a.m. here in the boardroom. The GRF Mobility and Vehicles Committee last met on October 5th and is scheduled to next meet on December 7th at 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. The Disaster Preparedness Task Force last met on September 27th and is scheduled to meet next on November 29th at 9:30 a.m. here in the boardroom. The GRF Purchasing Ad Hoc Committee last met on April 7th, 2022, and the next meeting is to be determined. And finally, the GRF Insurance Ad Hoc Committee last met on July 25th, 2022, and the next meeting is to be determined. All right, that concludes our committee's reports. So now we're at future agenda items. What we have so far is at our next board meeting in December, we're slated to vote on whether or not to finalize the rules for board meetings that we discussed earlier today, or send them back to committee based upon any members' comments. Are there any other items that any director would like to add to an upcoming meeting? Okay, seeing none. I'm looking on Zoom, don't see hands raised. All right, great, we'll leave it at that for now. So now we're on to agenda item 17, director's comments. Since we often end in Zoom, I'm going to start with Zoom today. So Jules, I'm going to start with you. You have any director's comments for us today?
I have no comments, thank you.
Thank you. Donna?
Just to say and wish everybody a very happy and healthy Thanksgiving, to both not only our board members who work so hard, but to our entire community. And other than that, no comment at all.
Okay. Thank you. Donna? Kush, any comments?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Couple of them. Number one is please enjoy your Thanksgiving and have a great time. Number two is to congratulate Annie to be elected to the City Council, and who will be leaving us very soon. So congratulations, Annie, and wish you all the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Chris? No comment. Okay. Ira?
I'll just reiterate what Kush said. Congratulations, Annie, and I have no other comment.
Okay. Jim?
Just an announcement so people are aware. I know we haven't got to Thanksgiving yet, but on December 3rd, there's a holiday tree lighting and toy drive, and that's pretty close after Thanksgiving. So just want to get it out there. It's going to be Saturday, December 3rd, 6 to 7 p.m. at Clubhouse 1. It's a free event. Please bring a new unwrapped children's gift. The fire department will be there to collect the gifts for children. There'll be hot cocoa and cookies. So please participate. The community's asked for more events to participate in, and here's one on December 3rd, 6 to 7 p.m., Clubhouse 1. And then also congratulate Annie, and just a reminder, we are the city, so treat us well when you vote on the city council.
Very good, thanks, Jim. Ralph?
No comment, thank you.
Go ahead, Annie?
I just want to say it has been my honor to serve on this board, to serve in Third Mutual. This is where I live, and this is where I've enjoyed serving, and so it's been a pleasure working with all the board members. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody out there who voted for me, and bye. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks. Congratulations again from me as well. We will miss you. You do a lot of work on this board, so now we have the fun job of figuring out how we're going to distribute it out to everybody else. Good luck, and hopefully we'll see a lot of you and work together to help improve things for all of us. All right. Siobhan, you have anything you want to share?
Just a happy Thanksgiving to everyone in our community. Thank you.
Thanks. Kayla?
No comment.
Okay, excellent. All right, well, the business of our open meeting has completed. It's 11:30. At this time, the monthly board meeting will recess for 30 minutes, and we'll reconvene to executive session. Thank you very much.